We have worked over into my workspace and I've got 3 pieces of vellum here in front of me. I've got one that I have colored on, one that I have stamped on, and then I also have a blank sitting next to me. I wanted to show you right before we start, I don't want your expectations to be unrealistic with vellum. Vellum is a very different surface to work on. It is not your smooth cardstock. It is going to react differently to Copic markers. They are not going to blend the same way. They will blend some, but they will not blend the same way as what they do on your cardstock. Just a different surface, like anything we do. Every time we switch that surface, it's going to look a little different, react a little different. So what I want to show you fairly close up is this is the side that I stamped on. I stamped with my Memento ink, which of course is normally Copic safe. Unfortunately, when you stamp on vellum, if I come up against those lines with my Copic marker, even though it's Memento, it will start to bleed and pick up that ink. So when I color on vellum, I actually color on the opposite side, and you can see the colors get much more vibrant on this side. Now I have gone from my lightest to darkest, and I've gone back through and done some blending. It's with a very light hand. I'm more moving the color versus blending it. I very much can see my strokes. I know exactly where I put those markers down when I did it. When I get to my lightest colors, in this case it was a B60, when I got into those lightest colors, really all I was doing is picking color back up versus even, so it shifted it around, picked it up. I actually had to do a lot of scribbling on my scratch paper to the side because I kept picking up the darker colors with my lighter markers. But you can see that it's much more vibrant on this side. I could use this image with either side up. If I like the rich, vibrant color with the very distinct brush strokes, I can leave it marker coloring side up. If I want it a little bit softer, I can actually flip it over. And this is the side I stamped on. And it looks a little softer. The colors aren't quite as bright, but it does soften the lines a touch. But I really wanted to show you this first before we even start so that your thinking is this is gonna look exactly, Michelle's gonna show me exactly how to make this look smooth, just like it works on my cardstock. I have done some vellum work. I haven't done a ton, but the vellum work I have done has shown me that that's probably not gonna happen. If you have a link to a great tutorial where they've gotten it totally smooth, I'd love to see it. I'd like to see how they're doing that. I personally like this look, but I love a painterly look. And so I am very happy with how this turned out. I can still see my shading. I still see those different values, my highlights, my midtones, my shadows. And that really is more what I'm seeking out when I do my coloring. So this particular image is by Dina Wakely. It is part of her line for Ranger, and I think it just lends itself to this type of coloring, very painterly. I love how this turned out. So this is another Dina Wakely image, again for Ranger, and I've stamped it with Memento ink, and I am going to color this so you can see how I do that. This is the stamp side, so I will be coloring on the other side. And then I do have a piece of extra vellum here. And a lot of times when I am coloring, I put whatever I'm coloring on, I put a scratch piece, even if it's been a used one, I put it nearby. And the reason for that is that as I start to color, sometimes I'm not exactly sure how the colors are gonna look together. Maybe I'm going out of my normal blending group. And I wanna see how they're gonna look together. Well, if I do that when I'm coloring on vellum, if I do that over on a piece of cardstock, it's not gonna look the same when I bring it over to the vellum. So I need to make sure I have a scratch piece of what I'm actually gonna be working on to test things out to the side. And then on my workspace, I always work, even with something like vellum where it's not gonna bleed through, I always work on a piece of cardstock, even if I have a protective mat underneath that. And that's for things just like this. As I color, sometimes I need to scratch off extra stuff, extra ink, extra mediums. And so I always have something underneath that helps me with that. All right, so I'm going to do similar color choices as to what I did on this bird, which is a series of B60s. And then the belly is a series of Y20s. So those are the two groups of colors I'm using. And I think for the little beak, I actually did use a Y38 to give it that little bit brighter yellow. Hard to see probably on the video, but I'm gonna tuck that guy to the side. Use similar colors on this one, but I'm gonna keep this handy if I need it, because I know these colors are from a happy blending group. I probably won't. But I'm gonna start, and again, remember, I've stamped on this side. This is the right side. I'm gonna flip this guy over and color on the wrong side. It's very hard to tell that when I set it down on the table. It looks about the same. All right, so I'm gonna speed up a little bit, and I will voice over so you know exactly what I'm thinking and why I'm doing the things I'm doing. I just am trying to make sure this video does not end up being about 45 minutes long. All right? So I will do my best to make sure you know exactly what's going on. All right, here we go. Working on the back of my stamped image, I'm starting with my B60 and filling in the highlight area. I don't fill in the entire portion of the bird. I switched to my B63 and added the midtone, and now my B66, and I'm adding some darker shading into the shadowed areas underneath the belly, underneath the chin, and now 69 to add those deepest shadowed areas. I'm flicking that color in from the edges. I've gone back with my B66. Now it's not blending completely, but it's softening the edge of that B69, and I scrub off a little bit on the side. B63 is next. Notice I come a little bit more onto the highlight, and I do need to scrub some color off, so I do that. And B60, same thing. It's going to be lifting up some of that B66, or sorry, 63. And so I need to scrub that off. Here's what that looks like from the front, and I'll go back and check that again. Y38 for the beak and the feet. Just a solid color. And then I'm going to start with a Y series, Y23. Notice I'm not filling it in again. I'm just hitting those areas that are the lightest. Y26 is next for some midtone. I get those shadowed areas at the base of the tail and some detail on the bird. And I tried the Y28. It just didn't get dark enough. So on my scratch paper, I'm going to try some different colors. And this time I'm going to go for some earth tones. I went with an E15 for my midtone to darken that up, or a little bit darker midtone. Again, into those darker areas, I'm flicking color. Longer streaks on the tail, shorter on the bird's face and wing. E47 is next for some of the darkest areas. Really creating that shadow. Here's what it looks like from the close to the ink and from the front. Going back now with my Y26, softening some of those areas. B69 fills in the eye. A little bit more Y23 to lighten up those highlights, picking up again some of that color and scrubbing it off of my pen on the side on just cardstock. Here's what it looks like. Not sure I like that eye. I want to brighten the yellow beak, and I'm changing the eye by adding E47, and it just mixes in with the color. I'm wiping some of it off to make sure that B doesn't end up on my E47. And I like the look of that a lot better. So again, I am actually completely content with how this little guy turned out. He's very painterly, and with vellum, that is what I'm going to get with how I'm working with it. My lightest color is picking up the colors and moving them around. I realized pretty quick that the yellow series was not going to work the way I wanted it to, and that's why I made some adjustments on my tester. I appreciate that I did that fairly quickly. When you've been playing with Copics for a long time, you get better and better at how to pick those colors out and how to mix them well. So you'll get there, I promise. It's all about practice. And I know you've heard that 1,000 times, but it truly is. But hopefully this gives you a sense of what you can do with Copic on vellum. It's not going to blend smoothly. It's going to be a more painterly look, very light touch. I'm not laying down near as much ink. It actually is quite a bit faster coloring than you would normally see. And so that part is really fun too, that if you want something super quick to lay on top of a card or a scrapbook page or a mixed media project or any of your crafting projects, this is a quick and easy way to do it. Hopefully in the months to come, the other surface that I'd love to show you working on how to work on is some old vintage book pages, and those again are very fast and simple as well. So that would be another fun one to explore. In the meantime, I hope you pull out a piece of vellum and a favorite stamp and give it a try. Bigger images, nothing too teeny tiny because you're not going to get to work into those little tiny details. So bigger open image, pick some favorite colors and really just play. Stamp it 2 or 3 times, maybe more. Think of it as terms of scratch and practice. This is for fun. Get your colors out and play. All right? Have a wonderful, colorful day.